A museum, a body, torture scars, no clues, only shadows. Can this murder stay buried? The hidden vault.
The air in the Whitaker Museum's storeroom hung heavy, a silent scream trapped in the shadows. At 9:42 p.m., a sharp crack shattered the stillness, followed by a thud that echoed off the cluttered crates. Emily Carter gasped, her green eyes wide with shock as she stumbled against a wooden shelf, her fingers clutching a small USB drive. Blood trickled down her temple, warm and sticky, as the figure before her loomed closer, their breath ragged. "You shouldn't have dug so deep," a distorted voice hissed, cold as the marble floor beneath her. Her knees buckled, the USB slipping from her grasp, and the world faded to black. 2 hours later, the precinct's night shift hummed with routine when Detective Sarah Mitchell's phone buzzed, jerking her from a rare moment of calm. At 34, with sharp green eyes and short brown hair still damp from the rain, she answered, her voice steady despite the jolt. "Mitchell." The dispatcher's words hit like a punch. "Body at the Whitaker Museum, East Wing storeroom. Suspected homicide." Sarah grabbed her coat, her pulse quickening. A museum murder wasn't her usual beat. Drugs and gang violence owned her nights, but something in the dispatcher's tone promised trouble. She arrived at the museum, its limestone facade glowing under the October moon, a stark contrast to the chaos inside. Security guard Hank Larson met her at the door, his wiry frame trembling, his face etched with panic. "Found her about 20 minutes ago," he stammered, leading her to the storeroom. "No one else around. CCTV's down. A glitch," they said. The storeroom was a crypt of shadows, lit by a flickering fluorescent bulb. Emily lay slumped against a crate, her navy blazer torn, her lifeless eyes staring at nothing. Sarah knelt, her gloved hands tracing the air above the wound, a clean blow to the head, no weapon in sight. The room smelled of dust and blood, the silence pressing against her ears. Then she saw it, a scratched USB drive, half hidden under a pottery shard near Emily's hand. "What's this?" she muttered, bagging it with tweezers. Her gut told her it wasn't random. Emily had been holding it, fighting for it. 6 p.m., Arthur said, his gaze flickering. "James can tell you more. Greg Voss, our security head, was on duty too. He's around." Sarah returned to the storeroom, where the tech team set up lights. She handed the USB to Carla, the precinct's tech whiz, her glasses glinting under the glare. "Run it through the sandbox," Sarah said. "I need to know what's on it. Fast." Carla nodded, plugging it into a portable analyzer. 10 minutes, tops. If it's got data, I'll get it." As the team dusted for prints, Sarah scanned the room. Scuff marks on the floor, an overturned crate, a side exit ajar. Someone had been here, moved quick, and left Emily to die. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She answered, her breath catching. A distorted voice slithered through, low and menacing. "Detective Mitchell, you stepped into a grave. Back off or you'll fill it." The line went dead, leaving her heart pounding. She spun, flashlight cutting through the hall. Empty, but the museum felt alive, its walls hiding eyes. Back with Carla, the analyzer beat. "Got it," Carla whispered, her face paling. "Audio file, timestamp 9:42 p.m. It's Emily, arguing with someone." She hit play and Emily's voice crackled, sharp with fury. "You can't hide it anymore. I've got proof." A muffled reply, then a thud. Silence. The file ended, leaving Sarah staring, her mind racing. Proof of what? Who was she fighting? The tech team called her over, pointing to a fresh footprint near the exit, too large for Emily's shoes, leading out. Sarah crouched, her flashlight tracing its edge. A deliberate escape. As she stood, her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. She answered, steeling herself. The distorted voice was closer, a whisper in her ear. That USB's your first mistake, detective. Open it, and you're next. The line cut off, and Sarah's blood froze. She turned to the exit, the museum's shadow swallowing her light. The USB burned in her pocket, a key to a killer and a target on her back. The Whitaker Museum's East Wing felt like a predator's lair, its shadows clawing at Detective Sarah Mitchell as she clutched the USB drive, its scratched surface a silent scream. The audio from 9:42 p.m. looped in her mind. Emily Carter's furious voice, "You can't hide it anymore. I've got proof." Cut off by that chilling thud. The precinct's forensics lab buzzed with tension when she stormed in, her green eyes blazing, the rain still clinging to her short brown hair. Carla, the tech whiz, hunched over the analyzer, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the settings. "I cleaned it up," Carla whispered, but the other voices garbled, distorted, like they used a device. Sarah leaned closer as Carla hit play. Emily's voice crackled again, sharp and defiant, followed by a low, muffled reply. Indistinct, but laced with menace. Then, the thud, a sound that made Sarah's stomach twist. "Run it through voice analysis," she ordered, her voice tight. "I need a match. Anything." Carla nodded, her face pale, as the machine whirred to life. Back at the museum, Sarah tracked down James Whitaker, the owner's son, in the grand atrium. At 28, with slick blonde hair and a forced smile, he exuded charm that didn't reach his eyes. "Detective," he said, his voice smooth, "this is awful about Emily. I was with her earlier, helping with gala prep, but I left at 8 p.m. Sarah's gaze hardened. "You were the last to see her alive, James. Where were you at 9:42 p.m.? His smile faltered, his hands fidgeting. "Home, alone. Check my phone records." But his eyes darted to the East Wing, a telltale flinch. Sarah made a note. His alibi was thin, and that glance screamed guilt. Next, she found Ryan Delgado, the cleaner's son, mopping the West Wing floor. At 22, with messy dark hair and a jittery demeanor, he froze as she approached. "Ryan," she said, her tone firm, "you work late shifts. Were you near the storeroom last night?" His face paled, his mop slipping. "No, I was in the back, cleaning the Roman exhibit. Didn't see nothing." But his hands trembled, and a bead of sweat rolled down his temple. Sarah spotted a tear in the cleaning crew jacket, fresh, jagged, like he'd brushed something rough. "You sure?" she pressed. "Emily was arguing with someone. Sound familiar?" He swallowed hard, his voice a whisper. I heard voices, but I didn't stay. Please, I don't know anything." He bolted, disappearing around a corner, leaving Sarah with a gnawing suspicion. That tear? Had he been in the storeroom? Back at the precinct, Carla called, her voice urgent. "Sarah, the audio's got a partial match. Male voice, young, possibly James Whitaker. And there's a background hum. Machinery, maybe the museum's HVAC. But here's the kicker. A second file on the USB, encrypted. It's a note. The proof's in the vault. 749218. Sarah's pulse raced. The vault, hidden in the museum's secure wing, accessible only to Arthur and a few others. "Decrypt it," she said. "I'm going back." As she hung up, the museum's silence pressed against her, broken only by the echo of Emily's last words. At the vault, the air was colder, the steel door gleaming under dim lights. Sarah punched in the code, 749218. Her breath held. A soft beep, then a click. The door swung open, revealing a slim folder, a stack of cash, and a small brass key engraved with Roman motifs. She opened the folder, her eyes scanning financial records. Gala funds funneled to an offshore account under James' name. Emily's handwriting scrawled across a page. "J.W. stole the money. R.D. knows he's watching." Sarah's heart pounded. James was stealing, and Ryan was involved, witness or accomplice. A creak behind her snapped her focus. She spun, flashlight cutting through the dark, but the vault room was empty except for a shadow flickering near the exit. She chased it, her boots echoing on the marble, down a corridor to the pier. The Lake Michigan wind hit her like a slap, the Chicago skyline a distant glow. A hooded figure darted ahead, dropping a duffel bag, its contents spilling, a laptop, its screen flashing EC Final. Sarah lunged, but the figure vanished into the night, leaving her breathless. Back at the precinct, Carla worked on the laptop, her fingers flying. "She's got a video," she said, her voice shaky. "Emily, alive, recording something. But it's locked, needs a password." Sarah's mind raced. 749218? She nodded and Carla typed it in. The screen flickered, showing Emily in the storeroom, her voice trembling. "If you're watching, I'm dead. The vault holds the truth. James, the money, and someone bigger. Find..." The video cut off, the screen going black. Sarah's blood ran cold. Someone bigger? Langston? The museum's donor list flashed in her mind. Before she could speak, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered, her hand trembling. The distorted voice was back, closer, a venomous whisper. "You've got the key, detective, but you're out of time. Open that video and I'll bury you with her. Midnight or Ryan dies." The line went dead, and Sarah's heart stopped. She glanced at the clock, 11:45 p.m. Ryan was in danger, and the killer was watching. The museum's shadow seemed to close in, and the USB's secrets burned in her pocket, a ticking bomb she couldn't defuse. The Whitaker Museum's vault room pulsed with a suffocating silence, the brass key in Detective Sarah Mitchell's hand trembling as the midnight deadline loomed. The laptop from the pier lay open on a crate, its screen frozen on Emily Carter's interrupted plea. "If you're watching, I'm dead. The vault holds the truth. James, the money, and someone bigger. Find..." The words gnawed at Sarah. Her green eyes darted to the Folgers financial records. $200,000 siphoned by James Whitaker to an offshore account. The code 749218 had unlocked this nightmare, but the killer's threat, "Open that video and Ryan dies," echoed in her skull. It was 11:50 p.m., and time was a noose tightening around her neck. She grabbed the key, its Roman engravings cool against her skin, and scanned the vault. The cache and folder were damning, but the key hinted at more. A lockbox, a hidden truth. Her flashlight swept the room, catching a glint behind a steel panel. She pried it open, revealing a small, ornate box matching the key. Her hands shook as she inserted it, the click deafening in the stillness. Inside lay a second USB drive, pristine, its label scratched with VL, Victor Langston, the museum's shadowy donor. Sarah's breath hitched. Langston's money had fueled James's theft, and Emily knew it. A sudden crash from the basement jolted her. She drew her gun, her heart hammering, and crept toward the sound. The stairs creaked under her boots, the air growing thick with mildew. At the bottom, a maze of crates loomed, their shadows twisting like living things. Her flashlight caught a clicker. Greg Voss, the head of security, stumbling through the dark, his gray uniform stained with sweat. "Detective," he gasped, his eyes wild. "I saw them." Before Sarah could respond, a shadow lunged from behind a crate, a hulking figure in a hoodie, face obscured. Greg screamed as the figure swung a pipe, catching him across the chest. Sarah fired, the shot ringing out, but the figure darted away, disappearing into the labyrinth. Greg collapsed, blood seeping from his side, his breath ragged. "Run, they're watching," he choked out, then went still. Sarah's stomach lurched. She checked his pulse, gone. Her hands trembled as she called for backup, her voice cracking. The basement was a trap, and she was the prey. She scanned the crates, spotting a tiny camera tucked behind a shelf, its red light blinking. Her blood ran cold. Someone had been recording, tracking her every move. She bagged it, her mind racing. Langston? James? The killer knew the vault's secrets and her pursuit. She bolted upstairs, the laptop clutched tight, and raced to the pier where the hooded figure had fled. The Lake Michigan wind howled, the Chicago skyline a distant blur. The duffel bag lay abandoned, its contents spilling. Cash, a burner phone, and a photo of Ryan Delgado, bound and gagged. Sarah's heart stopped. The midnight deadline was seconds away. She grabbed the laptop, typing 749218 into the video lock. The screen flickered, showing Emily in the storeroom, her voice frantic. Langston's behind it, laundering millions through the gala. The vault's proof. James is his pawn. A shadow moved behind her, and the screen cut to Stag. Sarah cursed, her hands shaking. The video confirmed it. Langston was the puppet master, and Ryan was his leverage. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She answered, her voice steel. The distorted voice snarled, closer than ever. "You're too late, detective. Ryan's gone." A scream echoed through the line. Ryan's voice, then silence. Sarah's blood turned to ice. She spun, flashlight sweeping the pier, but the night swallowed everything. Desperation fueled her back to the museum, the camera burning in her pocket. She stormed into the security office where Greg's monitor flickered with live feeds. Empty halls, except for the east wing where a figure in a hoodie lingered near the storeroom. Sarah's pulse thundered. She grabbed a radio, calling Mike Torres, her partner. "Mike, get to the east wing now. Someone's still here." They converged on the storeroom, guns drawn, the air thick with dread. The door creaked open, revealing a chaos of overturned crates, a bloodstain on the floor, and a hidden panel ajar. Sarah pried it open, her breath catching. Inside, a second body, Luis Delgado, Ryan's father, his eyes wide, a bullet hole in his chest, a note pinned to him. "You're next, detective." Sarah staggered back, her flashlight dropping, the beam dancing across the walls. Her phone buzzed again, another unknown number. She answered, her voice a whisper. The distorted voice laughed, a sound that clawed at her soul. "Two down, Mitchell. The vault's just the start. Come for Ryan, and I'll end you both. Midnight tomorrow, or he's gone forever." The line went dead, leaving Sarah staring at Luis's lifeless face, the museum's shadows closing in like a vice. Ryan was alive, but the killer held all the cards, and she was running out of moves. The Whitaker Museum's East Wing felt less like a tomb and more like a puzzle box as Detective Sarah Mitchell stood over Luis Delgado's body, the note, "You're next, detective," searing into her mind. But amid the horror, a flicker of clarity broke through. The hidden camera, the second USB labeled VL, the financial records linking James Whitaker to Victor Langston's laundered millions, clues were falling into place. At 1 a.m., with her green eyes sharp despite exhaustion, Sarah bagged the note, her hands steadying. The killer's taunt, "Midnight tomorrow," or "Ryan dies," gave her a deadline, but also a thread to pull. She turned to Mike Torres, her partner, his face grim beside her. "We've got Langston. The vault's proof. The video? Emily nailed him. Let's use it." Back at the precinct, the forensics lab hummed with purpose. Carla, the tech-whiz, had decrypted the second USB, her glasses fogged with sweat as she projected its contents. A ledger sprawled across the screen. Millions funneled through the museum's gala funds to Langston's offshore accounts, with James's name stamped on every transaction. "Emily flagged this a week ago," Carla said, pointing to an email. "She sent it to Arthur Whitaker, demanding a meeting." He replied, "I'll handle it." Sarah's jaw tightened. Arthur knew, and James was his pawn. Sarah pulled out Emily's notebook, its pages crinkled from her pocket. A sketch of a lockbox matched the vault's key with a note. The proof's in the vault. RD knows. Ryan Delgado wasn't just a witness. He'd seen something. She dialed his number. No answer. Just silence. Her gut twisted. The photo from the pier, Ryan, bound, flashed in her mind. Mike, get a trace on Ryan's phone. He's our link to Langston. Mid-chapter, the air shifted. At the museum, Sarah confronted James in his office, the financial records in hand. His slick blonde hair was disheveled, his smirk gone. "You're framing me," he shouted, slamming a fist on his desk. "I took the money, sure, but Emily's death? That was Langston. He called me that night, set to clean it up or I'd be next." Sarah leaned in, her voice low. "Clean what up, James? The pipe? The blood?" His eyes darted, sweat beading on his forehead. "I didn't kill her. I wiped the pipe because he told me to." Distorted voice, like a machine. Before she could press further, a crash echoed from the hall. Sarah drew her gun, motioning Mike to follow. They burst into the atrium, where a figure in a hoodie darted toward the basement stairs, a glint of metal in their hand, a gun. Her heart pounded as she gave chase, her flashlight bouncing off the walls. The basement was a maze of crates, the air thick with dust and dread. A shot rang out, the bullet whizzing past her ear, splintering a crate. She ducked, firing back, but the figure vanished into the shadows. Panting, she reached the corner where Greg Voss had died, the bloodstain still wet. A new clue lay in the dust, a torn scrap of fabric, navy blue, matching Ryan's jacket. Her stomach dropped. Ryan had been here, maybe forced. Another shot echoed, closer, and she pressed against a crate, her breath shallow. The killer was toying with her, drawing her deeper.
Upstairs, Carla called, her voice frantic. "Sarah, the camera feed. It's live. Someone's hacked it. I'm tracing the signal." Sarah raced to the security office, the monitor flickering with grainy images. The storeroom, the vault, her own pursuit. A figure appeared, tall and broad, a bald head with a tattoo snaking up the neck. The screen froze, then cut to black. Carla's fingers flew. "It's downtown, Langston's office." The clock struck 11 p.m. Mike and Sarah sped to the high-rise, the Chicago skyline a blur. They stormed Langston's penthouse, guns drawn. Victor Langston stood by the window, 60s, gray hair impeccable, gray eyes, cold as steel. "Detective," he said, unfazed. "You're persistent." Sarah held up the USB. "You laundered millions through the museum. Emily found out, so you had her killed. James confessed." Langston smiled, a predator's grin. "Proof? A ledger? My lawyers will shred it." But his eyes flicked to a monitor. Ryan, tied up, a timer counting down from 10 minutes. Sarah's blood ran cold. "Where is he?" she demanded, aiming her gun. Langston laughed, reaching for his desk. Mike tackled him, but a hidden switch triggered an alarm and the room plunged into darkness. Sarah fired blindly, the shot echoing, but Langston slipped free, his laughter fading down a stairwell. She grabbed the monitor, the signal tracing to a warehouse in Pilsen. "Mike, move!" she shouted, her voice raw. At the warehouse, the timer hit 2 minutes. They breached the door, smoke stinging their eyes. Ryan was there, gagged, the bomb blinking. Sarah cut him free, her hands shaking as Mike disarmed the device with seconds to spare. Ryan gasped. He said you died trying to save me." Before Sarah could respond, a shadow loomed. A bald man with the tattoo, gun raised. A shot rang out, and Ryan screamed as Sarah shoved him aside, the bullet grazing her arm. She fired back, the man collapsing, but the warehouse erupted in flames behind them. Outside, Sarah clutched her bleeding arm, Ryan safe but shaken. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She answered, her voice weak. The distorted voice returned, a hiss in the dark. "You saved the boy, Mitchell, but Langston's just the face. I'm the hand, and I'm closer than you think." The line went dead, and Sarah froze, the fire's glow reflecting in her eyes. The killer wasn't Langston. It was someone else, watching, waiting in the smoke.
The warehouse fire in Pilsen crackled into the night, its smoke curling around Detective Sarah Mitchell like a predator's breath. Her arm throbbed where the bullet had grazed her, blood seeping through her torn sleeve. But the real pain was in her chest. Ryan Delgado's terrified face. The distorted voices hiss, "I'm closer than you think." At 12:15 a.m., with the Chicago skyline a distant glow, she clutched her gun, her green eyes scanning the shadows. Ryan leaned against Mike Torres, safe but shaken, his messy hair plastered with sweat. The tattooed man lay dead, his gun still warm. But the killer's words lingered, a ghost in the smoke. Who was the hand behind Langston? Sarah's heart pounded. Time to end this. She turned to Mike, her voice steady despite the ache. "Get Ryan to the precinct. I'm going after Langston." Mike nodded, ushering Ryan into the van as sirens wailed in the distance. Sarah's mind raced. The second USB, the ledger, Emily's video, all pointed to Victor Langston, but the final threat suggested a deeper player. She headed back to the museum, the vault's secrets pulling her like a magnet. At the museum, the East Wing was a graveyard of silence. Sarah entered the vault, the brass keys still in her pocket, and reopened the ornate box. The VLUSB held more, a series of emails between Langston and Arthur Whitaker. Arthur's words chilled her. "Emily is a liability. Handle it discreetly." Langston's reply was curt. "Silenced by midnight. James will clean up." Sarah's fists clenched. Arthur had orchestrated Emily's death, shielding his son's theft. But Langston had pulled the strings. The pieces clicked. James's panic, Ryan's blackmail, Greg and Luis's murders, all to protect a laundering empire. Her phone buzzed. Carla, her voice urgent. "Sarah, I traced the camera hack. It looped back to Langston's office. Live feed still active." Sarah's pulse quickened. She rallied a SWAT team and stormed to high-rise, the clock ticking toward 2 a.m. The penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel. Langston standing by the window, his gray hair immaculate, his cold eyes meeting hers. "You're too late, detective." He said, his voice smooth as oil. "The boy's safe, but your career ends here." Sarah held up the USB. "You laundered millions through the museum. Emily exposed you so you had her killed. James confessed, and Arthur's emails prove it." Langston's smile faltered, but he shrugged. "Circumstantial. My lawyers—" She cut him off, nodding to Carla via radio. "Play the vault video." The screen flickered, Emily's voice filling the room. Langston's behind it, laundering millions through the gala. The vault's proof. James is his pawn. The SWAT team closed in, cuffing him as his facade cracked. Arthur Whitaker arrived, his silver hair disheveled, his calm shattered. "Detective, this is a mistake," he pleaded. Sarah faced him, her voice hard. "You knew James was stealing. You let Emily die to protect him and Langston's money. Talk or you're both done." Arthur's shoulders slumped, his confession spilling out. "I paid Greg to sabotage the CCTV. James took the money, but Langston ordered the hit. I didn't want this." Sarah nodded to Mike, who read Arthur his rights. James, dragged in next, broke down, admitting he'd wiped the pipe but hadn't struck Emily. Langston's man had. The case unraveled. Langston's laundering scheme, Arthur's cover-up, James's theft, Ryan's coerced video. Sarah sat with Ryan at the precinct, his eyes hollow. "My dad. He tried to warn me," he whispered. She squeezed his shoulder. "You're safe now. We've got them." But the weight of Greg, Luis, and Emily lingered. As dawn broke over Chicago, Sarah stood on the museum steps, her arm bandaged, the city waking around her. Langston was in custody, Arthur and James facing charges, the ledger and video ironclad evidence. The tattooed man's death closed one chapter, but the distorted voice haunted her. Her phone buzzed, one last unknown number. She answered, her breath held. A new voice, gruff and unfamiliar, rasped. Langston was a tool, Mitchell. The real power's still out there. Sleep light. The line went dead, and Sarah froze, the museum's shadow stretching toward her like a warning. The case was solved, but the game wasn't over.